Okay, so congratulations for those of you that actually are ready to start a business, because as you know, with the economy the way it is, if you don't have some kind of side hustle or some kind of cash flowing business going on, you're probably not going to make it as we roll into 2026. So in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how to qualify for up to $50,000 as a startup, even if you have a brand spanking new business, and even if you have shaky personal credit. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, I should probably tell you a little bit about how to set up your business properly to make sure that you can actually get it funded, because a lot of people don't realize that if you set up your business wrong and you look unprofessional, you're probably going to get no money at all, okay? So let's get started in sharing with you just a little bit about what you need to know in an ultimate crash course. I'm going to go as quickly as possible so that I don't waste your valuable time, and so that you know that you're setting your business up properly. So let's talk about your business address. Now, I know that that's probably the last thing that you'd be thinking of, as far as thinking that that's the first thing you should be thinking of, but you should actually be thinking about your address first. Because when you're in the process of setting up your business for the first time, including forming your corporation, ideally with a formation corporation company, you're going to need an address to get started with, especially since they're going to ask you for an address to ship out your corporate docs, to be able to put your EIN together through the irs.gov website. And so you're going to need a business address for all that, just to be able to lay the right, proper groundwork. And so what should your virtual office address be? Well, it should not be a P.O. box. It certainly should not be your home address. So what can it be? Well, there's a lot of virtual office address companies out there that you can find. Simply go to google.com, type in virtual address and the name of your city and state, and you'll be able to find a ton of different options. Some of them are super affordable, some of them are kind of expensive, so you're going to have to find something that's probably much more affordable. But you want to start with this option first. Now, that's provided that you don't want to start with an anonymous state. Now, you're probably wondering, well, Monica, what is an anonymous state? Well, if you want to form a corporation in a state that's anonymous, meaning that your ownership information will remain anonymous, nobody's ever going to know or be able to look you up to see if you actually own a company in any state anywhere, then there's going to be 4 different anonymous state options. You have Wyoming, Delaware, New Mexico, and Nevada. Those are the only 4 anonymous states you can actually form an anonymous corporation. Of course, you're going to have to pay an extra fee for the corporation formation service to be able to do an anonymous service, and they'll also offer you a virtual office address as well. And so then that way it actually keeps your name off of everything. And so you might argue, okay, well, Monica, what about, the BOI, the stuff through fincen.gov/BOI, which is something that you have to file for within 30 days after you form your corporation, or you can have the corporation formation service do this for you. Just an extra added layer of government BS that requires you to file with them. But it's no different than filing with the IRS. You're going to have to file with the IRS to get your EIN, which stands for your Employer Identification Number, which is essentially the Social Security number for your corporation. And the IRS knows who you are too, because your Social Security number is tied in with your company's EIN. So I'm not sure why people like to argue, saying that it's not going to be fully anonymous as a corporation. Yes, it is, because any Tom, Dick, or Harry that tries to do any kind of search to see what kind of businesses you own, they're never going to find it. The only people, or I should say entities, that will know who owns the corporation is going to be the IRS, which they know everything anyway, and another government, I guess you could say facet or department, which is the BOI stuff. So please note that the government always knows what you're doing anyway. If you think they don't, well, you're living in a fool's paradise, because that's just not reality. And you're trying to protect yourself from highly litigious individuals who want to, maybe later at some point, when you're rolling in the dough, we're in a highly litigious society, sometimes people will find you as a target, especially when you get your new Ferrari and you're driving down the street to your brand new, beachfront property. People sometimes will see you as a target. So you don't want people to know what you actually own. So if you have not chosen one of those 4 states, which again is Wyoming, Delaware, New Mexico, and Nevada, to form your anonymous corporation, then you have to do it in your home state, whatever that may be. And only you know what that is, because you're sitting there right now, or you know where your legal address is. So that's where you'd form your corporation. Down below, you'll see my preferred formation corporation service that I like to use. You don't have to use them. You can use a variety of others that are online, but I just find that it's smooth and quick to use them, and they're just very easy. They make the whole process easy. Make sure that you sign up for the EIN, because half the time the irs.gov website doesn't want to work correctly. And you need to get that EIN after you form your corporation. Just have them do everything for you. Pay the extra fee, have them get the EIN, and even have them file the BOI paperwork, which is a new requirement with the government starting last year. And so have them just do all of that. So then that way you don't have to worry about any compliance issues. And then they'll also notify you if there's any specific compliance with certain states. Like, for example, California makes you have some weird, like, stock certificates or some such, nonsense that you have to do. So make sure that your state doesn't have anything extra that you need to do specifically to that state. And so once you get your corporate docs, which they'll send them to you, usually FedEx, and you'll get your corporate documentation, you'll get your EIN, all your BOI paperwork's going to be in there. Make sure that you understand that if you are going to go from a C corporation, all corporations are born a C corporation unless you're getting an LLC or some other type of corporation like a PC, for example. You want to move it to an S corporation. It's just better for taxes. You're not double taxed on it. A C corporation will double tax you, an S corporation will not. But an LLC cannot be a single member. So if you're a one-man band and you're filing as an LLC, you also have to file the same paperwork. It's Form 2553. On the irs.gov website. You cannot file it until you have your corporate docs and your EIN. So again, it's Form 2553. You can also have the corporation formation service pay them extra, but they're not going to be able to file it for you. So they're going to charge you an extra $125 to $150 just to essentially fill out this 3 to 4 page form that you have to essentially sign and mail into the IRS anyway. So what's the point of paying them that kind of money just so that they can print out a form for you that you have to sign and mail in yourself or fax in yourself? So you might as well just do it yourself. So again, once you get your corporation formation paperwork and your EIN, you'll go to irs.gov, type in Form 2553 in the search bar at the irs.gov website. You will find the form. You can fill it out. You can print it out, mail it in. That will change you from a C corporation to an S corporation, which gives you better tax benefits, or it'll change you from a multi-member LLC to a single-member LLC, which is what you want to do if you want to be single-member and you don't have a spouse or somebody else to put on your LLC. So that's how that part works. And again, it's best to have your address already done and ready to go. But if you're using one of those anonymous state corporation formation services, they're going to be able to provide you with the address from day one anyway. So it's just a one-stop shop for everything. Address, EIN, corporation, all of it with the one company. So I like WyomingCompany.com. I also like DelawareRegisteredAgent.com if you want to do one of those two states. I like to stay away from Nevada specifically because unless you live in Nevada, you don't want to form a corporation there because it tends to be known now as the boiler room, corporation formation state of the country. And so those tend to go under much more scrutiny as far as the IRS and other government agencies than any other state. So you might want to avoid Nevada unless you actually live there. And of course, if you do live there, then obviously, form a corporation there. But for everybody else, kind of avoid Nevada. So once you have a corporation, you have your EIN number and everything set up, you have your virtual office address, you're going to also need a professional phone number. This can be a Google phone number, it could be a Vonage phone number, it could be an extra cell phone number, but it needs to be a separate number. I like to attach an 800 number, not an 888 or an 877 or any other type of number, but an 800 number, which you can get from cal8.com. So it's KALL8, the number 8.com. And you can actually get yourself an 800 number. 800 numbers are like the original OG numbers. And so if your company has an 800 number, it's kind of viewed as being an older company, even though it's not. And so for as little as $10 a month, you can forward that to your second number or even your main cell phone number. But I would recommend that you have that second number. That's a professional business phone number. Sometimes the virtual office companies, especially if you're forming an anonymous corporation, they'll offer you an extra phone number option. So that could be an option as well to get yourself a business phone number from them instead of having to do it yourself. So the final thing that you're going to need is a domain with a professional email address that matches your business name. So your business name ideally will be something very generic. And unless there's something incredibly specific you want to do, like maybe you want to work with Gulf products or import exports of some kind of specific products, maybe technology products or something. So unless it's something specific that you know you want to do, I strongly urge you to get yourself a generic corporation. To whereas if anybody ever asks you what the name of your company is and you tell them, they have literally no idea what you do. That is the ideal scenario. So for example, maybe you want to use your initials. Maybe your initials are ACE, like ACE. So maybe you want to use ACE International Inc. or ACE International LLC. Nobody would ever have a clue what ACE International does. And that's the idea. You don't want them to really know what you do. So then that way you can decide later on what your side hustle is going to be without being pigeonholed from day one into exactly what you're going to be doing when it comes to income with your business. So once you get, obviously, a name picked out, you're going to need a domain. So maybe you'll try, for example, ACE International Inc. or ACE International LLC Inc. You need to get a professional domain for your business. And as you check out, I like to use GoDaddy.com. So as you check out, you'll have an option to get a professional email address. You use the lowest budget, like I think it's $3 a month or something. So your domain is going to cost you roughly around $12 a year. So that's like $1 a month. Plus you're going to want an email service, the basic bare minimum email service. And that's roughly, I think, around $3 a month. So it's like $4 a month to be able to get your domain and professional email address, which you're going to need. Now, when you're setting up your email address, this is important. We don't want your first and last name at, say, for example, aceinternationalinc.com. We want it to be something kind of generic as well, like info at, or support at, or customer care at. And then remember, you can always do aliases. So if you don't like info at aceinternational.com, you can go in later and add aliases. Maybe your first name. If your first name is John, then it might be John at aceinternational.com. You might have customer care at aceinternational.com. You might have, your initials at, whatever, or ace at aceinternational.com. So whatever the case may be, you can have as many different aliases as you want, but your first email address is going to be your main email address, and that's the one that you're going to be setting up your entire account for when it comes to your email. Now, once you have your phone number, your email, your virtual office address, all these different things, now you can start applying for credit, namely startup loans. So if you're thinking about getting a startup loan, you're like, Monica, I really know that I want to do fill in the blank. I want to have an online business, for example, or I want to sell affiliate products or whatnot. And I need at least $5,000 to $10,000 to get started because I don't have any money and I just need something as seed money to get started. So what do? Can you get a loan when you have a brand spanking new business and no business credit to speak of? Well, the answer is yes, you can. Some of it's going to hinge upon your personal credit, but there is one company that does not hinge upon your personal credit, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So let's talk about the obvious, okay? So SBA has a program, they're microloans, and these are about $50,000 loans or slightly more as startup loans, depending on how much you need. But $50,000 is a really good, nice chunk of change, especially for most, home-based business side hustles these days. The $50,000 should be plenty for you to get started. So they do have a minimum FICO score requirement, so you're not going to be applying for these types of microloans from SBA when you have a 300 or 400 FICO score. That's just not going to happen. But if you have a decent mid FICO score, then SBA is going to be your best bet because it's going to have the lowest possible interest rate for your microloan. And again, that's for a $50,000 startup loan. So that's your best bet, but again, it's going to be hinging on how good your FICO score is, okay? So the next loan option, there is no FICO score requirements, but you're going to be limited to $15,000. Now, they do sometimes do more than $15,000, but $15,000 is usually your general cap for these loans. So it's going to be kiva.org. So down below, you'll see kiva.org. You can actually get up to about $15,000. And this is also considered a microloan for a business startup. but it's an amazing company to work with because you can also get 0% APR for your loans, even if you have bad credit, which is pretty incredible, I think. But again, you're going to be limited to 15,000. But if you're trying to start some simple online business, or maybe buying and selling pallets of electronics on places like eBay, for example, yes, eBay is still a thing, and people still do make millions of dollars on eBay, believe it or not. As old of a platform it is, it's tried, true blue, tested and proven, it actually still works to make money. So if you want to do something simple like that, like importing stuff and reselling it on places like eBay or other platforms, then you don't really need much more than $15,000 to do that. In fact, you probably only want to get started with one pallet and work out of your garage and get the business rolling then anyway, and you probably don't need more than $5,000 or $10,000 to get started. So that would be also a really good place to get started, is getting those kiva.org loans. But then finally, this is my favorite, because it's not really a loan. It's where you can raise money with your products and services through, I guess they're really called crowdfunding. I think that's what most of us call it nowadays. So we have Kickstarter, which I'm not a huge fan of Kickstarter because it's an all or nothing kind of deal, where if you, for example, put out there that you want to raise $15,000 and you only get to $14,990, then you lose all that money. You don't get any of it. And I just absolutely hate that idea. So then there's Indiegogo, which that's the alternative. And Indiegogo will let you have, depending on how you set it up in the system when you first get started with them, and you're pitching your business or you're pitching your product, you can get whatever you get. So if you want to aim for, say, 15,000, but you only get to 5, you get to keep that money as your startup for your business. So that's the preferred website to go to, would be Indiegogo.com. And so what are you putting on these websites like Kickstarter or Indiegogo? Like, what are you putting? Well, you have to have some kind of product to get started with. This is really good for people that are starting with new products, or, I mean, even, for example, you're doing a film project, or you're writing a book, or something of value to someone. You can be starting a t-shirt company, but you have to be willing to offer something to someone to be able to raise this money, because not everybody's going to chip in and just give you money just because. They want to actually get something in return, even if it's a future promise of you delivering. Say, for example, you're writing a graphic novel and it's not going to be ready for 6 months, and you're just looking for funding to get, maybe some of the art or something going on your graphic novel. So the future promise obviously would be that they can get a copy, maybe a signed copy of that graphic novel 6 months from now. And if that's the case, then those platforms like Indiegogo or Kickstarter would work phenomenally well for you, because they like to support people that are in the arts in particular. So it could be a book, it could be a film. It doesn't have to be something physical that you're mailing out to people right now today, but there has to be a future promise that they're going to actually get one of your products or getting something in the future when you finally do have your business up and running. So at this point, if you do want to work with one of those crowdfunding sites, you're going to have some kind of product or service idea. Otherwise, you're probably not going to be able to use those sites, because the raising of the money is kind of rallied around you presenting something that you're going to offer to them at a future date. So that is the way that I would rally up and get some dough going for my brand new business. That's the way I would do it if I were to get started today. And again, you can get upwards of $50,000. I also have an exclusive money guy that can get you around $20,000. You don't even have to have a business to get the money. You do have to have a mid-FICO of 680 or above, and he can get you around $20,000 minimum. You can get upwards of $250,000, but that's for people that with really good credit. So if you're interested in knowing more about my exclusive money guy, you can go in the description box below and check it out. But again, he is exclusive to me and my company. Nobody else knows who this guy is. Nobody else uses this guy except for people within my company and my students, those that I mentor and so forth. So I have to keep this under wraps. It's not for a lot of people. So you'll find his information, or how you can get access to him specifically and directly, including how to access him and his funds as soon as possible. He can get you funding in 10 days or less. So if that's something that you're interested in, you do have that 680 mid-FICO or above. You don't have to even have a business. You can do it under your own personal Social Security number to get your business started. Remember, we want to use this money to be able to start a business. We want to start building wealth. We don't want to piss it away on, luxury cars and TVs and stuff like that. We can only use this money to make more money. And that's the rule when it comes to this. And finally, when you get yourself, this is one last hack that I have for you, and this works for me every single time. When you sit down with a banker and open up your business checking account, I strongly urge you to either consider Wells Fargo or Chase, because Bank of America, for some strange reason, is just not giving up business credit. I don't know what's going on with that bank. I think my personal feeling is that I'm thinking that they might be having some financial issues or difficulties, or they're seeing how the economy is going and they're tightening the reins. But I've noticed over the past year and a half or so that they've really pulled back on business credit. So if you don't use Bank of America when opening up your business checking account. Instead, use a different large mainstream bank, and they will be able to sit down, open up your business checking account with your EIN and your corporate docs that you'll be providing when you open up the account. And then they'll also usually offer you an unsecured credit card as well. That's another way to get really good, awesome access to unsecured credit to start your business. And if you take Wells Fargo, right now they have, I believe it's a 21-month 0% APR promotional period for one of their credit cards. I could be mistaken. It might not be as long as 21 months for a business credit card, but I do know that they do have a lengthy promotional period. I know that Chase always has promotional periods of around 15 to 21 months, depending on what their current promotional periods are for their 0% APR. So if you sit down with a banker, and at the same time as them opening up your business checking account, they will offer you an unsecured credit card as well for your business. And businesses always, always, always get much more money than you will ever get personally, even with the same FICO score that they're pulling from. So you want to make sure that you definitely open up a business credit card. And finally, if you have decent credit, get yourself an American Express card right away. It's a great company to be in step with. And they also offer you business lines of credit as well. So if you really want to access even hundreds of thousands of dollars, American Express is your company. So if you don't already have a business American Express, get one right away as soon as you open up your first, ideally with your bank that you're opening up your checking account with. Also get yourself an unsecured American Express, because you'll then be able to access within a relatively short period of time, usually about 6 months or so, you'll be able to access some unsecured credit, lines of credit and loans directly with American Express based on your payment history that you show after you start using your Business American Express card. So I hope that this helped you out a lot. If so, give me a nice thumbs up, as well as subscribe to my channel. Be sure to also be part of my brand new school group. It's school.com/Monica Main. Down below you'll see it. And you'll be part of thousands of like-minded individuals just like yourself, accessing my free courses, also my credit repair stuff, downloading free books and so forth. It's an amazing community to be part of. And you can be part of it as well if you're not already part of the Monica Main group. So be part of that. And I have some brand new dispute letters that you can have. So down below in the description box, you can access my dispute letters as well as many, many other letters that I have, including legally threatening creditors and legally threatening, people that you, like the credit bureaus, for example. You want to be able to know the law, know what you can and cannot do, and know how to go after these people who are continuing to ruin your credit if they're not taking these things off your credit or favorably updating them on your credit report. So you'll find all of that at getdisputeletters.com. Down below there's also another secret link that I have for those of you that have problems getting to the getdisputeletters.com site, because there's thousands of you that go to that site at any given time. And sometimes you can't get to the site. So now I have a second link, which you'll find down below in the description box below this video. All right, everybody, this is Monica Main signing off, and I will see you in the next video.